Hi, this is Richard Blade, the voice of SiriusXM's First Wave, and you're listening to the voice of 91 Reasons, Jeff Tucker. Totally awesome.
You're listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
When I was a kid, I had a lot of weird ideas about how things were made. I mean, when you're a kid, you have no idea what it takes, the effort it takes to create things, or, you know, what goes into things. Like, quick example, my mother baked cakes all the time. She baked cakes for every occasion. She baked cakes for every church bake sale, you name it. And I don't know how a cake is made. All I know is that she had this white timer that she would put on the counter, and when the timer went off, the cake was ready, and we could have a piece of cake. So whenever my mom would leave the room, I would take like 2 minutes off the timer. Now, did that ruin the cake? I have no idea. I can't remember that far back as tasting the cake. But I do know that it was this weird idea that cause and effect. You know, if the bell rings, like Pavlov's dog, we get a piece of cake. So let's speed the timer up to get the cake sooner, right? I also thought when I watched, if you've listened to the show for any amount of minutes, you know that I wasted my entire youth watching television, watching movies. I used to watch so many sitcoms. Like there were just piles of them. I worshipped at the altar of the sitcom, you know. You name it, Alice, Different Strokes, Silver Spoons, Give Me a Break, She's the Sheriff, Three's Company, Too Close for Comfort, Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, Love American Style. I watched every one of them. Welcome Back, Kotter. I loved Welcome Back, Kotter. The Jeffersons. God, I love the Jeffersons. The Brady Bunch was a big one. And they would always open the show, not always, but some of the shows opened with, Happy Days is filmed in front of a live studio audience. I never really figured out what that meant as a kid. All I know is that when you watch the show and the character does something funny, everybody laughs. So I thought, well, they must have some sort of microphone on my TV. And if I were to laugh loud enough, the other people watching the show would hear me laugh the way I'm hearing them laugh. So I used to sit in front of the TV and just laugh my ass off at these shows, whether they were funny or not, hoping to communicate with the other viewers. And I tell you what, it was the Brady Bunch that finally convinced me that it was all a lie, because the Brady Bunch used arguably the worst laugh track in the history of television, because it was like the same 5 or 6 laughs, and some of them weren't even human. There's some sort of animal guffaw. And I remember not watching the show and instead concentrating on the laugh. This is how, what a weird kid I was, right? There's Marsha Brady doing her Marsha Brady stuff, and I'm listening Marsha, shut up. I'm trying to hear the laugh track. And finally I realized, oh, that's all fake. Those aren't real people. So the other ones must either be fake or canned or recorded. And then then live studio audience. Oh, somebody's watching. I got it. Okay. And then if you remember, if you're from the 80s, Married with Children was kind of the show that took it to the nth degree. Because whenever Al Bundy would make his first appearance, the audience would roar and cheer the prodigal son had returned, and it was all, part of the fabric of the way that show was made. And I have to admit that having spent so long studying and wondering and figuring out the laugh track thing, I find it hard now to watch anything with a laugh track. I can't watch anything new with a laugh track. People have told me, well, you're into that nerdy stuff. You must like that Big Bang Theory. No, I don't watch it. I don't get it. I don't want to watch it. I can't do it. I think we've reached a point in society where the laugh track is superfluous and it has to go. So for my thing, I don't watch those shows. I don't watch that. Two Broke Girls, nothing. The ones I watch are single camera, no laugh track. I was a big fan of Malcolm in the Middle. My wife and I watch The Office quite a bit. But I do find on MeTV, they run a lot of old stuff. And I've, rediscovered my love of the Jeffersons. And man, the Jeffersons is one of the best sitcoms ever. Sherman Hemsley is so good as George Jefferson that it defies, like, you want it to be real. You want it to be real, and that's the segue as far as what I'm going to talk about for this show is when I was younger and watched movies, it didn't occur to me how long and tedious movies take to make. They didn't even process into it. I thought they just followed a guy around and he had an adventure and they recorded it and that's the way it went. And I don't know about editing. I don't know about nothing. And maybe some of it was an accident, maybe they got that shot accidentally, and there is a little bit of that. Some shots are like, it was an accident. It was amazing. I'm glad we got it. Or like Star Trek 4, where when they're walking down the street trying to find the nuclear vessels, this woman goes, yeah, I think it's that. It's like she's not part of the movie. The urban legend is she just walked through the set, answered a question, and suddenly she's in the movie. That's an accident, Or some directors will tell you, oh, the sunset, we didn't plan it, that's an accident, The end of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, that shot of them running off into the sunset, that's kismet. That's everything happening right for a few minutes to get that shot. And it might have taken him weeks, You hear about Howard Hughes when he made that airplane movie, waiting months for the weather to be right. Now it's film it, we'll fix it in post, whatever. But it didn't occur to me how much work went into making movies. Like, they're just so tedious as to they're mind-numbing. I've been on the set of movies. I've been an extra in movies. I've watched them spend 9 hours setting up lights to get one shot. Like, I've seen that. And that's why movies are so expensive and why they take such proper planning. And the bottom line is, movies, for the most part, are not made by accident. They have the spark of an idea. Somebody has an idea at some point to make a movie. They jot some notes down. Those notes eventually become a script. A producer goes, hey, I like the script. Let's see about making that movie. And then they have dozens of meetings to realize what's on the paper in real life. How do we get this into the camera? And I know that nowadays a lot of it is, well, we'll just do it digitally. Robert Zemeckis never met a shot he didn't like that he couldn't do digitally. Let's just do it digitally. We don't even need people. There are shots of Superman Returns, and that was, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, where it's not even Brandon Routh as Superman. It's all digital. There's nothing real. It's all created in the computer. Watch Ready Player One. Ready Player One is 90% cartoon. But in the old days, and I'm going to go back to the magical world of 1981. In 1981, if you wanted a major studio to make a movie, there was a lot of legwork involved. Script, planning, budget, director, sign-off, release. I mean, nothing is made by accident. So every movie that came out in 1981 was on complete purpose. And you have to wonder, what the hell were people thinking? I watched a movie from 1981, a major Hollywood release that stars, at the time, one of the biggest box office stars in the world, Chevy Chase. He had done Foul Play, which made him a huge star, bigger than he was on SNL, because he left SNL quite early to be a movie star. They tagged Chevy to be a movie star, right? So he was making these big Hollywood pictures. He co-stars in this movie with Carrie Fisher. Now, she's just come off of Shampoo, Star Wars, boom, Empire Strikes Back. 1980, Empire Strikes Back, where she's as equal a star in this movie as Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford. She's a major Hollywood star. You know, ask me, in 1981, I was 10, and Carrie Fisher shone like gold. You know, when she showed up on TV, everything stopped. She's Princess freaking Leia. So these are two big, arguably big movie stars. They're at the top of their game. They both look amazing. Chevy Chase looks like Hollywood ready. Carrie Fisher's gorgeous in this film. And they could have made any movie they wanted. And instead, for some reason, the studio put the green light, the big stamp, on Under the Rainbow. And this was marketed big. I remember seeing commercials for it when I was a kid. I never got to the theater to see it, but I finally watched it. And I don't know what anybody was thinking. This is one of the worst movies I have ever seen. And it's not bad because it's schlock. It's bad because it's just a stupid movie. But here's the thing, I'm okay with stupid movies. I like stupid movies. But this one, I can't figure out. The guy who directed it never went on to do anything of note. Like, he directed Can't Buy Me Love and some of the Bring It On sequels. He didn't direct Bring It On. That's Peyton Reed. Peyton Reed directed the Ant-Man movies. But this guy, Steve Rash, just was a middle-of-the-road director. So it's not like the director has a lot of pull. You know, sometimes studios give directors gimmies as a thank you for doing a movie, you know. Tim Burton was given Ed Wood as a thank you. And he was given Ed Wood and Nightmare Before Christmas as little thank you movies. You know, it's weird. Like, whenever a director wins Best Picture, Best Picture, Best Director, they usually go together. Occasionally they're split, but not usually. The next movie that comes out is something that the directors had this passion brewing to make, and they've got to do it. You know, they've got to get it out. And a lot of times you'll go, this is the movie this guy wanted to make? What the heck happened? Like, if you look at the movie Rain Man, directed by Barry Levinson, swept the Oscars that year. Barry Levinson used the leverage of the success of Rain Man to make Avalon and Toys, two unwatchable movies that cost a lot of money. But they were gimmies. The studio was like, we're going to give you a movie. There's always gimmies, right? These big directors get all these gimmies, you know. Sometimes they pay off, you know. Color Purple was a gimme because the studio wanted Spielberg to keep making space movies. And Spielberg said, I need to make a personal, different movie. They said, okay, well, here's a little bit. We're not going to give you the full budget for one of your space movies, but we'll give you enough to make The Color Purple or Empire of the Sun, which to this day, even he admits those are his most personal movies other than, of course, Schindler's List, which was supposed to be, again, a little art house movie that wasn't supposed to make any money. And Schindler's List made quite a bit of money at the box office. Sold a lot of cassettes. I mean, I just watched an interview with Spielberg where he said the movie was made because the studio wanted to sell it as a double cassette movie to video stores. Like, okay, whatever gets it made, right? And I think Schindler's List is a masterpiece. You know, they're talking about Black Panther being the first superhero movie nominated for Best Picture. I think Oscar Schindler was a bigger superhero than Black Panther. And I like Black Panther, great movie. But, you know, there's something more personal about it. I mean, they're not even connectable. I'm being a jerk here. I totally get it. But Schindler's List affects me in a way very few movies do. So it's weird to think that there was a big meeting and they sat around a table with the script for Under the Rainbow, read it, And nobody had second thoughts. They said, we're going to go ahead and keep going. And they made this stupid movie that, on the surface, if somebody said, we're going to make a movie about the making of The Wizard of Oz from the point of view of the actors who played the Munchkins, and how most of those smaller actors had never been in a situation where there was a huge group of likewise people, right? They'd never seen that many of people like them ever. And how amazing and wondrous that would be. Like, so many of the Munchkin actors grew up thinking, well, there's nobody like me. And then suddenly there's 100 of them. That's a compelling movie. I would love to see that. And I actually, as naive as I am, I thought this was that movie. We're going to see some wacky hijinks because it's a comedy, a weird comedy, right? But it's going to be about wrangling these folks who, for the first time, are seeing that they're in a situation where they're no longer different. What a great movie that would be. Why doesn't somebody make that about the Oompa Loompas or the Ewoks, right? Because that was other times where this is the same kind of situation. And instead, this bizarre, strange movie opens on the Dust Bowl, Middle America, the Great Depression, and FDR is about to give his radio transmission to the country, his fireside chat, and this small person is he's the guy that has to go up on the roof to fix the antenna, which in itself is ridiculous, right? But we get the quick dialogue that he has these big dreams, and before you know it, he falls off the roof right into a traveling truck that's picking up little people to take them to Hollywood to be in The Wizard of Oz, a movie they've never heard of. So he gets on the bus and goes to Hollywood. And I thought, okay, well, I'll take this rags to riches story, because once they get to the hotel and the story, it should be pretty compelling, because who couldn't make some fun, interesting characters out of the actors who played the Munchkins, you know? Have the mayor have a crush on one of the little women that wake up and stretch, you know, and the Lollipop Guild hates each other. I mean, there's so many rich little moments you could fabricate, whether it's true or not. And I know some of the Munchkins, I think they wrote books, so you could probably pull a few stories from there and then just embellish. But instead, it cuts to, I'm not kidding, it cuts to Hitler. And we're in Hitler's private office where he is giving orders to a monocled Billy Barty. And I know Billy Barty made a couple of legitimate movies. And there's nothing to say that Under the Rainbow is not a legitimate movie. But from my point of view, Billy Barty's the kiss of death in a movie. When he showed up in Masters of the Universe, there's no hope. We're done. You've cast schlock. He's walking human schlock because he only makes B pictures. And in this one, he is yakking it up and chewing scenery with this ridiculous German accent. And he's doing Heil Hitler into Hitler's junk. I mean, oh my God. There was a moment where, during this scene, I thought, did the movie skip? Did they give me another file? Because I was watching it digitally. Did something happen to the movie? I don't understand. I thought, well, no. He's a little person, so it's got to be part of the plot of the movie, right? And it is the plot of the movie. And the plot of the movie is he's to go to this hotel and meet up with a Japanese spy, and he's going to get the locations of all of the armaments that protect the California coast. There's going to be a handoff of a map. So, okay, ho, we're going to laugh big because we know the audience. He's going to end up at the hotel full of the Munchkin actors. So the Japanese guy is going to not know who has the map, right? So then, like, that's enough, right? We have a plot. That's enough, right? No. Instead, we have a bus of Asian tourists who all dress alike in a white suit, who all have the same stereotypical camera around their neck. Their bus crashes, and they have to stay at the hotel. So now we have too many little people and too many Asian men in white suits at the hotel. So the Nazi and the Japanese soldier are not going to know who's who. Like, okay, that's funny, I guess. And we have our plot, but we have more. Then we cut to the Queen Mary, where Chevy Chase is protecting an English lord of some sort and his wife, played by Eve Arden from Grease. She's great. But they have a dog named, it's not named Croissant. It's named some French pastry. I don't remember. Eclair? I don't know. Like, it doesn't even matter, right? All that matters is within 2 minutes we find out that the guy is the Lord is terrified of being assassinated. An assassin shows up who's a complete bumbling boob, and they have that dog, and the dog ends up getting killed. The dog ends up getting killed. Now, if you know anything about movies, unless the plot of the movie is the dog dies, like Marley and Me or Where the Red Fern Grows, unless it's the plot of the movie, once you kill a dog, it's hard to come back from that. And this movie kills the dog, and then they tell Chevy, well, the husband's like, the wife will never know. She never pays attention to the dog. Go to the pet shop, get another dog, and that'll be our dog. And you're like, wait a minute, wait. So she doesn't know the name of the dog, but any dog is her dog, or whatever the dog's name is, right? I'm trying to find the name of the dog. It doesn't really... She has poor eyesight, it says. I've got the page up, the Wikipedia. But it's not going to help you, because you don't want to watch this movie. You don't want to watch this movie. So, in the next scene, Chevy is arriving at the hotel with this English lord and his wife and their new dog. And then we meet Carrie Fisher on the lot across the street, and we get to see, like, a little bit of the making of Gone with the Wind. Because, you know, Victor Fleming directed Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz in the same year. Wizard of Oz had a first director who was fired, and Fleming took over. So, like, the two arguably most memorable movies of all time came out not only the same year, but were directed by the same guy. And they show a little bit of how they did Terra in camera with a painting in front. That part's pretty good. And then we get to see a little bit of the Emerald City that they've constructed for this movie. And that's the stuff I wanted. That's the stuff that that made me hang on for this movie. Was the promise of behind the scenes a little bit, maybe a little bit Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of The Wizard of Oz. Like, just off camera, this is happening while Dorothy's doing this. But spoiler alert, we don't get any of that. Zero. Nada. There is a funny Clark Gable lookalike. But Carrie Fisher is then put in charge of the little people at the hotel. So the hotel has a manager who's leaving. He leaves his son in charge. I mean, it's just so many weird sitcom-y plots on top of each other, you know. The little people, the Nazi, the Japanese guy, the English couple, the assassin, the Secret Service agent played by Chevy Chase. Carrie Fisher is going to wrangle the little people. The hotel has a new manager who's going to prove to his dad that the hotel can make a lot more money if he's in charge. They lose the little people's reservation. The hotel is filled now with Japanese tourists. And I swear, man, I'm reasonably intelligent. I can follow all these plot threads. But there was a moment where I thought, why are there so many? Who put this thing together? What a mess. And not that I need movies spoon-fed to me like, here's a little bit of the plot, Jeff. Yes, take this spoonful of plot. I don't need that. But what I need is find the plot that you like and make that exciting and fun, because the young guy who dreams of getting out of the Dust Bowl and starting a career, like, that plot's thrown away. Even though he shows up later to have a sword fight with Billy Barty in the kitchen, it's all weird. So, along the way, oh my God, the Japanese tourists start getting killed by the Nazi and by the evil Japanese agent. And instead of calling the cops, this guy Tiny, played by Pat McCormick, who actually wrote this thing, he keeps putting the bodies in the freezer. So now we have bodies in the freezer, and they start stacking up quite a bit. And if you didn't find random people getting murdered funny, don't worry. Because that dog that was replaced, he's going to die too. And his replacement's going to die. So we keep, boom, boom, killing dogs. And then killing Asian tourists. And it's all done in the name of comedy. Like, you're supposed to really find this stuff hilarious. And there were moments I just thought, I'm already too far gone to not, I can't turn it off. I have to know how it ends. You know, I'd love to turn it off, but I'm halfway through this stupid thing already. Here's the thing. It's not even that long, but it sure felt long. It's 97 minutes, but it felt a lot longer. So at some point, Billy Barty takes Carrie Fisher hostage, cuts her clothes off so she's in her underwear, and then her and Chevy Chase get locked in the freezer with the bodies, and so they have to huddle together. Like, it's a weird, weird romance set up between these two. Like, they're going to be in a romance because they're the only two pretty people in the movie, because everybody else is a caricature. And instead of, like, showing two of the Munchkin actors falling in love and amid the chaos, like, none of that. It's a cookie cutter damsel in distress rescuer love story, which is weird to have a cookie cutter anything in a movie this bizarre, right? So the Munchkins end up to be complete debauchery. They get drunk. They literally swing from the chandeliers. They jump off the balcony. It's complete chaos, while the Nazi is running around trying to get the plans, and the Japanese agent's trying to shoot everybody. And I swear there were moments I thought, I can't believe somebody directed this. And remember when I said every one of these scenes requires setup, lights, rolling sound, and this is film. So they don't know until 2 or 3 days later if they got it. I mean, they can watch the dailies, but the dailies are at the end of the day. You can stay and watch what you shot that day. And maybe they shot, a minute, 2 minutes a day or something. Now, to their credit, back then the scenes were longer. The camera held longer. It wasn't the quick cutting we're used to now. Cameras used to just be locked off and show you the scene. But even then, this movie took careful preparation. All these actors, all these character actors, all this set, had to be put in motion. They had to feed all these people. They had to bus them from the hotel to the fake hotel. They had to put them in costume. They had to recreate a lot of the Munchkin costumes. They had to recreate part of the Emerald City. And you go, why did anybody in their right mind even bother with this? This is ridiculous. But I guess, if I had to guess, I would say that they thought Chevy Chase and Carrie Fisher were enough to carry a movie like that. And even if the movie's terrible, people will go see it. We'll get our theatrical run out of it. Because remember, there's no home video yet. Home video is still way in its infancy. And even when it did break, Under the Rainbow got a limited release, has never been released commercially on disc. It's only available on YouTube or as a direct print from Warner Brothers DVD on demand. So whatever it made in its theatrical run, that's it. It cost $18 million to make. At the box office, it made $18,826,000. So think about this. These people labored on this thing for half a year, and the profit margin is $800, which is literally zero. They broke even on it. They probably didn't even break even because that's not counting promotional. And I'm sure Chevy Chase went on The Tonight Show to promote this, and Carrie Fisher, and you just look at it and you go, everybody showed up to a party that was the worst party ever. You know, there aren't even a couple of scenes where you chuckle, because even if you start to laugh, then they kill a dog. Or if you go, oh, that's kind of funny, then they kill one of the Asian tourists. And look, I love black comedy. You know, I think Murder by Death is a masterpiece. I even like stuff like War of the Roses, where it's like really black comedy and you're laughing at somebody's misery. But this is in this weird gray area where it's all day glow while terrible things happen to people and they die. What the hell? What the hell? So there's a big chase scene through the Warner Brothers lot. It's a lot like the chase scene in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but it's not fun, except that the Munchkins are dressed like the Munchkins, and they're running through Gone with the Wind, and then they're running through the Emerald City, and it just keeps piling on and piling on. And even though like it's carefully directed so you never get lost in it, there were moments during the end I thought, just end it. This chase scene's going on forever. It's just padding. Can we just end this stupid... Hey, excuse me, can I get back to my life? You ever done that in a movie? You ever raise your hand and go, look, sir, hey, you made a great movie, and I'm very happy for you, and I hope it's commercially successful, or hope it finds its niche, but for me, can I bail? Oh, I can't? No one leaves till the end? Oh, I'm stuck here. I'm stuck under the rainbow. What a terrible, terrible movie. And then to make matters worse, as if it's not bad enough at the end, where Chevy gets the girl and everybody gets arrested. The Asian agent, the Japanese agent, gets killed. And at the end, guess what? Wah, wah. We're back in the barn. And when he fell off the roof, fixing the antenna, he got knocked out, and it was all a dream. And when he wakes up, everybody who was in the story is in the barn. It's the exact ending of Wizard of Oz. It's supposed to be the big save of the movie. We didn't really kill any dogs. We didn't kill any Asian tourists. Nobody died. Everybody's here, and they're fine. There's Chevy and Carrie Fisher, and they're a couple here, and they're going to get married. And there's that guy, the head of the hotel. And then a bus pulls up, and Billy Barty is not German, he's English, and he's taking people to Hollywood to be in a movie. Do you want to be in a movie? It's called The Wizard of Oz, let's go! And he gets in the bus and it takes off, and I went, I can't believe that's 2 hours I'm not getting back. I'll never watch it again. And I've watched, there have been movies I hated in the theater that I watched. Like, I went and saw Austin Powers opening day, the first one in 97. I couldn't wait for it to end. I was crawling the walls to get out. But then when it showed up and I bought it on VHS, or I didn't buy it, but somebody bought it on VHS, and I watched it a few more times, I'm like, this is actually a really good movie. And that was one of those things where I was wrong. I was totally wrong. And Austin Powers became a huge movie in my library. I love the Austin Powers movies. Not so much the third one, but the first two I think are great. But not so much with this one. This is one I'll never revisit. And I'm only doing this episode as a public service so that you don't get suckered to go under the rainbow, because you won't like it. Now, Pat McCormick, the guy who wrote it, he's legendary. He was in Smokey and the Bandit. Him and Paul Williams are the ones that set up the bet. Pat McCormick was a staple of 70s television. I watched some of his roasts the other day. I watched some of he was on The Tonight Show a lot. He appeared as like a turkey for Thanksgiving. He appeared as Baby New Year. He was a funny dude, but it's a particular brand of comedy. And it's rooted in a particular time, because he passed away in the late 90s. And they did a big tribute to him. They brought Robin Williams out and a bunch of other comics. And if you watch some of that, it's on YouTube, and I did. A lot of his humor is rooted in a time. And you've got Robin Williams, at the time the most popular comedian in the world, doing Pat McCormick's material, and nobody's laughing because it's really offensive. But that, and I get context. I'm not condemning at all. I understand context, and that was the context of the time frame of when he wrote those jokes. And it's weird to see a guy like Robin Williams bomb using his material. McCormick was legendary as a drinker, as a partier. He made these movies and did TV show appearances to fuel a very robust party life. And I don't begrudge anybody a good time. I'm not a party pooper in any way, man. You have a good time, rock and roll, man. Let's all have a good time. Under the Rainbow is not a good time. So I hope I have swayed you from watching this. But it's also interesting. It's an interesting piece of history in that, again, all the work that went into it, and this is what they got. They could have made any movie. And instead, for some reason, they made this bizarre spy movie out of the making of The Wizard of Oz. It'd be like if I made a movie about the making of Star Wars, 1977, and I didn't concentrate on anything. Like if I make a movie about the Stormtroopers, the guys who played the Stormtroopers, but instead it's like, well, one of them's a spy, a Russian spy during the Cold War. You'd go, what? You didn't need that. And Under the Rainbow didn't need all that, but that's the movie. I mean, it literally has Hitler in it. There's a guy in it playing Hitler. So, hey, I've saved you 2 hours. It's good to be back. I got a lot of feedback saying, when are you going to rant some more? So I'm ranting about movies. I'm ranting about Under the Rainbow. What a piece. Carrie Fisher looks amazing in it. That might be the only reason you want to watch it. She is fantastic in it. But she's hardly in it. And the part she has is dumb. It doesn't serve any purpose other than to give Chevy Chase someone to kiss and save. And that's a waste of her talent. So, anywho, hey, we're going to be back with more episodes. And guess what? I was approved for a panel at WonderCon. Friday, March 29th, I will be doing the 30th anniversary of Back to the Future 2 panel at WonderCon in Anaheim. I'll have all the information soon of what room and what time and who the guests on the panel are. I'm putting that together right now. But that's going to be a lot of fun. We don't have a table this year. We're just hanging out at WonderCon all day and then doing a panel. I can't wait. I love talking Back to the Future, as you already know that. But hopefully that'll be a lot of fun, and more fun than the debacle of last year where not only did I not sell any books, but people were very hostile towards me, and I lost my voice. So we'll see how it goes this year. The sequel should be better, right? The sequel's always bigger and more intense, hopefully. All right, thanks for tuning in. I am Jeff Tucker. I am the voice, and the show you're listening to is the Under the Rainbow version of 91 Reasons.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Good night, future boy!